Right, Jake has pressed some buttons, so let's get the show on the road on Tuesday, the 30th of September, 2025. 30th of September, Mark Boland's birthday, and the opening of Radios 1 and 2. Right, that's enough for this week. We'll see you next week. There we are, giggling already. Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. I hope you're well.
Lee, are you well?
I'm looking forward to this, mate. I've got to say.
Yeah, we look back on the Saints' glorious extended run in the FA Cup with a 1-0 win on Saturday away to Woodford Town at Ashton's Playing Fields. If you look at our history, it's confusing whether we're still playing a club that we played in 1985 in the FA Cup and lost to them, or whether it's a different one. Even our own history is confusing. Anyway, that's the programme when we played them in 1985 and lost to a controversial penalty when Mark Pearson was pulled up for a foul. Nobody thought it was a foul. And then John White, our captain, missed the last-minute penalty. And there's Saturday's programme, a nice colour edition now. Don't like the big woods on the front cover. That's got bad connotations for us. Right, the game. Andy, I can answer your questions straight up because we've got a few questions coming today. I've seen in a region of 3,000 City matches, and I can't remember what the second worst game was, but this was the worst one. It was the pits. We won it when a Harrison Smith penalty on, was it 11 minutes? Wasn't soft penalty at all, was it? It's the first time we've won an FA Cup tie with a penalties. You might remember this one. Lee, Martin Duffield scored in the last minute to give us a 2-1 win at Leighton in September 1994. Let's go back that far. There's more. I'm trying to pad this out, Jake, desperately.
Tabs, sorry, mate. In the 30,000 City games you've said you've just seen, we've been on the end of some absolute drummings. You know, Grays away, for example. There were some pretty bad games in the conference years when, you know, the arse just fell out of our season. The billing you've given this game on Saturday, it's quite intense, mate. So are you really suggesting it is the worst game
in the history of mankind? Right. The thing is, you talk about those games when we have had hammerings like the Grays one, when we had goalkeepers sent off, didn't we, as I recall. Not really would have made much difference. The game itself was, you know, the opposition played quite well. Neither side played well Saturday. No way could you dress that up and say either side looked a decent footballing side. But there were contributing factors. That setting, the running track pushed us about 3 miles from the pitch. It was awful. That doesn't help. The atmosphere. Full marks to their lot who tried to make some noise to generate some atmosphere, but it's very difficult there. The pitch, it was a shocker, an absolute shocker. It made Clarence Park look like a billiard table. It just wasn't fit for football. A friend of mine went to it because he thought, because of a reputation of Woodford running track, it's got a huge, tremendous reputation. He thought they'd look after the football pitch as well, and it'd be good for a good game of football. It wasn't. And you've got to feel sorry for Woodford Town having to play on that every home game. And now they've won 6 out of their 7 league games playing on that. Full marks for them because it is atrocious.
The thing is, though, mate, it's not as though they weren't warned. I mean, to be fair, the Bury chairman did relate to us that the pitch was an absolute shocker. And let's face it, he wasn't dicking about, was he? Because that was really, really bad on Saturday. But again, it's just a case. Was it a leveller? I mean, you'd have to suggest it was, right?
Yeah, they came down to our level. You're dead right. No 2 ways about it. Also bumped into 2 supporters, Mark and Stan, who claimed to have run there, or at least Stan's son did. Shame we didn't see anybody else running on Saturday. Right, you've got an idea of what I thought of the game. Go, Lee, go.
Okay. It was woeful, absolutely, and you won't sort of see me try to, you know, coat this off in anything other than what it was. It was an absolutely horrendous game of football, not befitting of the world's oldest club competition in the world. But I guess that we won. My only criticism is that our continued desire to try and play football. It's noble, if nothing else. I think naive a little bit. I'm surprised Alex Wall didn't come on sooner, or at least start. I think you knew what you were going to be getting with that level, and I thought we defended quite staunchly, although it wasn't particularly easy on the eye. But attacking wise, you're absolutely right. Listen, we're not going to come on and suggest anything other than the fact it was absolutely abysmal. Jake and I almost fell asleep in the second half in particular. But we were warned about the pitch. And you're absolutely right, Tabs. I mean, their fans were fantastic. Reading their programme notes there, this was their cup final. They were really, there was a very impassioned sort of article in there from one of their supporters. They were looking forward to this big time, and they gave it their all. But ultimately, they came up short. And I think, although we weren't anywhere near good enough, we came away with the win. And I think on that sort of pitch, you just have to take the small positives.
Most people who spend any time standing next to Jake generally fall asleep after a while, Lee.
Jake, sorry, mate, I didn't see that one coming. Oh, sorry, mate.
Off you go, Jake.
Didn't know you've been speaking to my girlfriend, Dave? Yeah, I think there's two things here for me. I agree with both of you. Absolutely dreadful game. Probably the worst pitch I've ever seen Snowben City play on. And I remember that game at Clarence Park back in 2006 against Exeter when the rain came falling down. At least that was fun, and at least there was a legitimate reason for that. The pitch on Saturday was absolutely dreadful. Every time the ball bounced, it appeared that we'd entered some sort of dust storm. But apart from that, we're through. It was a terrible performance, but we're through into the next round. And Bury Town can't say that.
In the hat.
Yeah, we're in the hat. Bury can't say that. They got knocked out. They're a step-free side. They lost there. And you can easily see why they lost there on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night, whenever it was. It's a terrible place to go to. Logistically, ground-wise, pitch-wise, it is not a good experience at all. So kudos to the Saints for getting through. It might have been a penalty, but we converted it and we held out. And to be fair, in the last 10 minutes, we had a couple of chances, didn't we, maybe to extend the lead. So that's more than you could probably say for Woodford, although Magnus made a save from a Woodford free kick during the first half. But we probably had a couple of the better chances towards the end, and we're in the hat. That's all that matters, even if the display was.
Are you buying this, Tabs, or what?
No, I don't think anyone is. But it was one of the worst City games I've ever seen.
Marvellous, Jake. Marvellous. You work in PR, do you? Right, we look at the positives now. There are some to be taken. Defensively, we're up against a side that's used to that pitch. But that doesn't mean you know which way that bounce is going to go. You really don't. It's no help to them, that pitch. But you're up against a side supremely confident. And as you mentioned, it was their cup final. Might not have been. Banbury next round could have been gone right for them. But they nearly scored in the first minute. They got off to a really bright start. And then you mentioned the save by Magnus Norman from that free kick from, was it number 4? Should look his name up. And then Jack James made that block in the second half, which Magnus may have saved had Jack not got there. So they had chances, but it was only half chances. It was like Hitchin. We managed to ball them into submission in the end as well, and we did it again Saturday. We're proving difficult to break down in the cup against lower league opposition. And with that foundation, you've always got a chance of going through. You mentioned Alex Wall and I think George Sippets. That's interesting because Harrison Smith, he is struggling. I had a question here, one of the people here. Harrison Smith, question mark. Well, yeah, because at the moment, he is not looking the answer at all, is he? I was hoping Saturday with that early goal would inspire him, but it didn't. But then again, for service to the front men wasn't exactly plentiful. So maybe not his fault. But why does he keep coming after an hour? If he's not fit, get him fit before you stick him in the team. Keeps coming off. There's a problem there. Clearly not 100% fit. Alex Wall previous week had looked very poor. When he came on, we looked stronger up front. We certainly did. And he did link with George Sippets. And Sippets took his opportunity well, had a header saved, had that shot on return against the crossbar after a knockdown by Alex. And George didn't do himself any harm at all. I still don't think he'd be in the starting lineup Saturday at Averley. So there are some positives there. But over 90 minutes, that is clutching at straws a little bit.
Yeah, I think it is. But as I say, I think a few Saints fans were quite surprised that maybe Alex wouldn't start on Saturday, just given the opposition and maybe I think the battle that fans expected it to be. And I think we've all suggested that would it been good to see him come on earlier potentially. And George Tippett as well. Maybe this was the kind of game that would be perfect for him. So it would be nice to see him get a bit more opportunity. I think another positive, Lee hinted it is a clean sheet. You know, they weren't particularly challenging Woodford, but it is another clean sheet. And the defence managed to deal with most problems. Although I think Woodford did have one sort of hacked out the goal mouth, didn't they, when it was goal bound. So that's another positive. As everyone can view and listen, that they can tell that we're really clutching at straws. But, you know, there we go.
Right. You got anything else to add about that game, Lee?
What I would say is I think it's harsh to sort of really judge players' performances given the surface. I think that okay, Harrison Smith, you said isn't the answer currently. I would agree to a certain level, because the thing is he does thrive on service, and you can see in the home games, especially where we've been a bit more attack minded and we've been able to play football in and around the box. He does thrive in that situation, certainly. I think to look at performances overall on Saturday would be extremely harsh. But I like Sippets when he came on. He looked lively. And I think that's what he needed. I think it just looked for Alex Wall. I mean, again, he hasn't exactly been the striker we need him to be this season. But I think given the fact that he's probably stronger and dare I say it, a bit more fitter than Harrison Smith is at this stage of the season, maybe he could have started and it would have been a bit different. But again, it's all leaps. The thing is, though, Dave, is that you have to look at the situation where we tried to continue to play football, and it just didn't come off. And I wonder whether Ian Culverhouse and Paul Bastock looked at that at any point at half time and thinking, you know what, let's just play for territory and pin those guys back in, because I thought defensively, Boswick in particular was absolutely outstanding on Saturday. He just repelled everything that sort of come anywhere near him. And okay, they were getting a little bit of purchase down the flanks and stuff behind the fullbacks. But other than that, mate, as you said, they had very, very few clear-cut chances. I think we just have to, take it for what it is. I was speaking to Kevin Mudd before the game, and I was relaying what I was sort of saying on the pod towards the latter end of last week, saying, look, this will be 3-0, 4-0. It should be 3 or 4-0. And he said, well, see, I'll just take the win. And to be honest with you, he was right, because ultimately he's been in those sorts of games. But it was a lose-lose for City. It was a lose-lose. If we'd have won, it would have been, we've not played particularly well. We expected to sort of win to get through. And if we lose, well, then we're on to hiding to nothing. As you say, they were in a little bit of form, granted. But you still would have thought that the quality of our squad would have shone through towards the end of it. So take it at face value, and let's move on.
Funny, talking to goal scorers, because we didn't get one in open play Saturday. Jasper Mather 4 in 4 before Saturday. He had to get booked for us to realise he was on the pitch. It was just non-existent. He was invisible, like so many of them Saturday. I agree with you about Michael Bostwick. Then again, you would expect a player of his experience to dominate a side like that, and he did. Got booked as well. It's funny. Was it just a pitch? Or we can go on about this till the cows come home, can't we? Message from Tim Phoebe says, I don't think you should dwell on the performance too much. It's always going to be a struggle on that pitch. Would have been nice to see them at Clarence Park. He said other positives were the partnership between Wall and Sippets. He spotted that as well. We looked much better when they came on. Also, nobody picked up any major knocks, which is a good thing.
Mm.
And then he goes on to the next round. Banbury is winnable. It certainly is. We've always wanted to conquer Banbury and claim it as ours. Blah, blah, blah. Right. Tim Petty.
Oh no.
Our
Bless him.
saddest,
Here we go.
our saddest supporter, probably. I don't think anyone complained about that. He went to our old ground to have a look at it. Snakes Lane, what was it, I think? Snakes Lane, East and West, not sure which one it was on. Took a couple of pictures. It's totally overgrown. And I tell you what, the picture looked a damn sight better than the one we had. I had to get that in. But that was it. Their run. But Tony Heath they beat, Harlow Town, Newmarket Town, Bury Town. They did really well to get through to us. And they just run out of steam on the day, didn't they? Come up against a side that could nullify their attacking threat, really, on that pitch.
Well, exactly.
Right.
And we did really well to get through. So happy days.
Happy days.
And it was also
Right,
good that Tim managed to find the right ground as well, to be honest with you. So it's always good.
Yeah, we won't mention that he rocked up at half time. But, you know.
Yeah, of course he did. Yeah, both grounds. Right, courtesy of the FA Prize Fund, that's another 5,625 into the coffers. Means we've got 11,250 from the FA Cup so far, plus sponsorships and all the other stuff as well. If we go out in the next round, at least we'll have is 14,375. Go out in the first round and it goes up to 35,600. So there's quite an incentive to beat Banbury and go through that first round. Even if we get knocked out, you're then talking big money and other money as well. Right, some FA Cup stats. If you want to talk about Banbury, first time we've been drawn away in 8 successive FA Cup ties. The previous record was 6 during the 1920s. We lost all 6. Most successive away ties in one season. Successive away ties in one season was 6 in 1921-22, although the first 2 were played at Clarence Park. Run eventually ended with a 7th away game, 3-1 defeat at Gillingham. George Meagher scored our goal. Now, George Meagher, captain of the City side then, he was a relative to a former historian, Peter Taylor, and of course his brother, Roger Taylor. Hi, Roger. He'll be watching this. There you go. Attendance Saturday, 477. Their previous home game was 102.
Oh, look at that. I mean, before we move on, I think obviously we'll preview the Banbury game in full next week, but in terms of listening to the draw, I think it could have been a worse draw, couldn't it? So, you know, at least it's not Boreham Wood away, which I think a lot of Saints fans expected.
Averley Gateshead.
Exactly. So,
Be Averley away again. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a few more times we can get it this season, and there's not a lot of Isthmian sides left in the competition now, so we've done well to get this far.
Yeah, was it 6 of them played on Saturday? Not one of us lost. Averley went through last night on a replay. 2 more replays tonight after we finish waffling on here. Question from Dino. Happy with the cup draw?
Yes, I am personally. To get a side at this level, I think it could have been much worse. I think the odds were obviously that we were likely to get a National League South side or a National League side. So you've got to fancy yourselves, haven't you? I know the management will, I'm sure, and it should be a good day out, hopefully. So yeah, I think it's a good draw. What about you two?
Well, I think the club would be happy not to have got a club above us, simply for the reason we mentioned earlier. The money that's there to be had. You get through to the first round, even if you go out, Ben, you're certainly talking big money.
Yeah.
What about you, Lee?
I probably would have been a bit more optimistic if we'd had a home tie. I think there's been a large periods of this season when we've played well at home, especially the last few games as well. Mm. But that said, Banbury is a winnable tie, and it could have been, as Jake said, a lot worse. I think it's important, though, we look at it and we're not afraid of people at this sort of stage. We have got the players. I don't think we should linger too much on the performance of the last game against Woodford. And really, this is a great opportunity for us now because morale has been low around the club since the summer. And an FA Cup run, Dave, as we all well know, if you get a good run, it really does bring that spirit back. And You look at the Forest Green and sort of previous seasons when we've done well or got to the first round. If we're in the hat for the first round of the cup, mate, it really does start to get people's appetite back for watching City. And hopefully this is another season of that.
Well, we've got to thank the FA for the draws so far. The first three in particular. You can't help thinking if we get through to the first round, we'd probably have Garden Field School. But you've still got to beat these smaller sides. A number of times, well, the last 3 years, as we know, we've lost to lower league opposition. So we've avoided that banana skin so far, which is good news indeed.
Yeah, and it's certainly Banbury are not going to be rolling over, are they? Because they've got exactly the same prize as us to get through. So it'll be a tough one, but it's winnable, and it could be much worse. And I'm sure Saints fans will travel in lots of numbers, and we'll discuss that next week.
Right. Dino had a follow-up question as well. Would you keep this cup running and happily keep it going to sacrifice a playoff position?
No.
Oh, blimey. No, not really. I think for 5 minutes of fame over the fact that we could potentially get back into the National League South. I love a cup run. I think what it brings to the table is really important. As we've seen from the Forest Green game, it can attract a whole new wave of supporters. And I think in terms of legacy, that is important and it's vital. But I think a successful league campaign, look, we have touched upon this, of course we have, but the situation in the summer, it was poorly handled across the board behind the scenes at the club. And I think to get back into the playoffs would really get everyone back on side. And even the negative Nancy's, I'm sure that they would want to see us back into the National League South. But that's got to be the goal. FA Cup is always nice, and it's good to get on telly sometimes, and it's good, to have those Sunday afternoon kickoffs and all of that. But you cannot sacrifice that for a place in the league above. Surely not.
Sorry, I've got a message come through. I agree. I think the club needs to be back in National League South. Of a glory if you do get through and win a first round tie like we did against Forest Green that time. It's great for the club. But 2 years later, whatever it was, 3 years later, we're relegated.
And we forget that season we were top of the league when we played Forest Green. And that second half of that campaign, we were obviously living off the glory of the Forest Green. But that second half of the campaign was not enjoyable for fans. It was a real struggle. We failed to make the playoffs, and we lost a lot of ground there. So I wouldn't take that. And also, I don't want another season of going to Aveley 5 times in our campaign and going to Whitehawk again and all these stadiums.
I'll tell you what I would say, though, fellas. The only way I would sacrifice a playoff position is if we were to continue a bit further down the line and get a really glamour sort of third round tie.
Yeah.
That would give us financial stability. I think is good. It would raise our profile. Undoubtedly we'll have to be on the television at some point as well. I'm not talking like a League One. I'm talking like a Premier League game, whether it be home or away. I think that's the only time I would sacrifice, because the thing is, the money and exposure that could bring could set us up for another couple of seasons. But again, it would have to be something really extraordinary, because ultimately the bread and butter, the reason for you guys is to see your side be successful. And whether that be promotion, which is more likely than winning the cup, obviously, or indeed the trophy. So I think that's the only way I would sacrifice a playoff push, is if we get someone really, really big.
Talking of attracting money, which the club is excellent at, of course, and doesn't keep posting losses every year. If we win on Aveley on Saturday, that's another 2,450 into the coffers. If we lose, it's 625 quid, which is roughly your bar bill for a week for you two, I believe. So, there you go. So it's not big money to be had in the FA Trophy. It just hasn't got the glory of the FA Cup at all. And before your time, Jake, but Lee and I can remember one season was a great deal of fun, wasn't it, Lee? 1998, 1999 under Gary Hill.
Still hurts me. Let's move on.
we got revenge in the FA Cup first round a few years ago.
I don't know, mate. I mean, no, but this is a good point, right? We talk about successes and exposure and progression in the FA Cups and the trophies. We were 20 minutes away from Wembley.
Yeah.
And okay, here's a question for you then, Dave, seeing as you put me on the spot a few times. Would you have rather have had that day out at Wembley in the trophy, or would you have seen us, go on to bigger and better things in the cup? Because the thing is, for me, City at Wembley would have been always something that I've dreamt of. And the fact we were so close, and the fact our team was that good, we'd undoubtedly have hammered Kingstonian, because the final, we talk about dreadful games. That game was absolutely diabolical. And, Jake, you would have heard us waffle on about this season and that campaign, but because it was so good and it resonated with so many. Talk about fans. We had the Boston game and the Fry Screen game, and we beat some good teams along the way. So I don't know. It does still hurt, I have to say.
Boston were the better side. They should have beaten us.
Yeah.
And of course, Dagenham away. Didn't Muddy score in that?
Great game.
If you can't get away, he'll tell you all about it. Would I change that swap it for the FA Cup win? Yes, I would, for a simple reason. Would have saved us losing to Wood in the next round. And just as you say, Lee, to see City at Wembley that one time. I remember for the first playoff final for the Premier League, St Albans City Youth provided a part of a pre-match entertainment at Wembley. You might remember it, Lee. It's about 1992, 93. And I was down on the pitch with the kids as well, doing a little bit on there. And it's just something different down there. And they talk about the heat at Wembley. And it's incredibly hot down there. It's like a bowl. Whether it is a new one or not, I don't know.
Wait a minute.
But that's as close as we got to Wembley.
You have graced the turf at Wembley Stadium.
It needed a bit of quality on it, yeah. I mean, John,
why have we not heard about this before? This is like new information that we could have hammered you for over the last 6 or 7 years, mate.
We were told not to kick a ball on there because it accidentally happened. You drop a ball and it just bounces off your foot, and so you kicked the ball on Wembley. John Colfer, I believe, actually blasted a penalty into the back of the net, so he'd ignored it as well. Anyway, happy days.
Indeed.
No wonder they tore it down.
Thanks, Jake. Right, okay, are we done with Woodford Town now and just about everybody else?
About half an hour ago, I think we were, yeah.
Right, Averley then. We've downgraded that competition quite significantly. We went there a few weeks ago, got a 1-1 draw. They probably had the better chances. We are now 7 games unbeaten. It's 6 of them away from home, so it's obviously not going to lose Saturday. After 90 minutes, it goes straight to penalties when we come home nice and early. He's going to put his strongest side out, isn't he? He's going to want to keep a run going.
Yeah, I don't see why would you change it. I think there might be 1 or 2, maybe, as he looks potentially a little bit rotational, look for options going into October. But otherwise, I think it would be a very similar starting 11 because, you want to keep that unbeaten momentum, don't you? You want to keep winning games. This team is starting to build something now, and there's no point going to Averley, changing the whole 11, getting rolled over 3-0, is there? I don't think you gain anything from that. So I expect exactly the same pretty much, and it'll be another positive approach, and hopefully it'll be better than that game down there a month or so ago, maybe a little bit longer now, because for a lot of that game, the Saints did not look like a side that had its way or its direction in mind, and we've improved, I think, quite significantly since then. So hopefully we won't see a repeat of that.
We've improved quite significantly since then. Take the Lewis game out of it, Jake, and take a look at the other games. We are pulling in results. I'll agree with you there. But is it great to watch?
When were we last 7 games unbeaten, Dave? It's been a while. Come on, let's enjoy it.
About a week ago. Your opinion on what's coming up at the weekend, Lee, we've met them once before in the FA Trophy, 1982-83. They beat us 2-1. That must have been at Mill Field at their old ground. And Kevin Hull scored for us. Your take on this coming Saturday, Lee?
Yeah, I don't know how much change you can actually make, if I'm honest. I mean, the squad is, I think Jake said himself, the squad pretty much, the team picks itself. It's just whether he goes for an out-of-form Harrison Smith or an out-of-form Alex Wall. So I think, you're sort of trying to, that depends on the tactics, doesn't it? But what I would like to sort of see is for us to take this seriously, because 7 games unbeaten, if you beat Avery, that's 8. And, I like the fact we're getting a bit harder to beat. And obviously, I love the fact now that we're trying to get a bit of form together. And even when we're not playing well, we're still getting results and we're still progressing through cups or getting that win in the league. So I like that characteristic in us. I love the fact we are a bit staunch and resolute in defence. We were questioning the dad's army of centre-backs, with Dyer, Fifield and Boswick. But I tell you what, they've been good. They've been good. They've not been well big, but they've been really good. And they've contributed a telling factor to this season so far. And when we're not scoring as many goals as we would have liked, to have a really resolute defence, it is vital. And going into Saturday, Aveley, I mean, you talk about bad draws. That's just a bad draw. But you've got to look at it on the positive side. It's another opportunity for us to get those players who are unfit back into some sort of shape. And hopefully we can progress in another important competition along the way.
Obviously, there will be no Riley Scott. He's out for at least 6 weeks with his ligament injury. Kieran Gautier came on just after an hour last week. Bearing in mind it's a trophy, not the FA Cup or the league, is there a possibility he might make a start in 11? I've got my doubts.
I think that's a reasonable shout. And I will say I didn't think Kieran did much, if anything, wrong when he came on, actually. And I think it might not be a bad idea to see him potentially, because let's be honest, it's a squad game and we're probably going to need him at some point. After we made the joke about the dad's army, but there will be natural injuries and issues. So we probably will need him. So I think that could be a decent shout there, Dave. So that'll be an interesting one. But otherwise, I think, like Lee says, the only other change will be maybe the forward area. And potentially, will we see Kone given some minutes in midfield after his sort of display against Lewis, potentially? And on Riley Scott, I think it's good news that it is only 6 weeks, because, again, I think a lot of fans, when seeing it in the flesh, thought, well, that could be a long time out. So good news for him, and hopefully he'll be back fit and firing soon enough.
I'm not sure I've updated my bookings list here. Could you talk about a squad and the players we might need? Zane Bantam's on 4 bookings. I've got Perez Dewar down as 3. I think he's actually on 4. So we've got a couple of players there edging towards possible suspensions. So the squad system will be useful.
Is it still 5 or is it 10?
It's also, is it certain cup competition, certain competitions, if you get booked in that competition, it doesn't count elsewhere. They try and complicate it now, which is ridiculous. If you're booked, you're booked. Just chuck it all in. Shouldn't go around kicking people or swearing at referees or pulling shirts or diving. Shall I stop the list there?
Yes, please.
That's just us. You know what I mean? It's just... But here's a thing for you, Dave. Do you reckon Ian and Bazza will look to someone like George Sippets to sort of, with one eye on the Banbury game, the FA Cup, potentially getting into the first round, maybe holding back Harrison or maybe a Leo Seri, and then maybe putting George in that way, see if he can sort of, because the thing is, what you want is you want competition for places. And to be honest with you, George scored there, didn't he, a few weeks ago? So I'm not entirely sure. And you'd like to think that the pitch is going to be more favourable to his type of game. And I just don't know whether it's a case of you're looking for options now, aren't you? It's going to be a long season. And is it time? Is this the game in the FA Trophy where George Sippets really comes to the fore and says, well, look, hang on a minute, your other strikers, they're not doing the business. I've done it here 2 weeks ago and I could do it again now.
That is exactly the point. The thing about, does he rest Wall and Smith to protect them for the FA Cup. Well, that doesn't come into it because we haven't got one striker. Or Jasper's got 4 goals. We haven't got one striker who's been in such magnificent form, not just scoring goals, but really playing well and standing out, who can take his place for granted. None of them can. You mentioned it there. And George, because of his late strike the other week, or 3 minutes after coming on at Parkside, he's got to have a chance. And the way he finished on Saturday as well. But I still think it would be a surprise if he started with him.
Yeah.
There we go. Done.
You two are going to agree with me. We might as well give up.
No, that's a worrying sign, isn't it?
We should have done that years ago, mate, to be honest with you. But,
Thank you very much. Right. What else? Oh, yes. Talking of Harrison Smith and Alex Wall, somebody said, what about Sean Jeffers on loan?
No,
I do not see, well, because he's not a regular at Bedford Town at the moment, and he's yet to score this season, but I think like last season with us, they hardly created a chance for him. I do not see the cat in house chance of us taking him on loan.
Well, I mean, no, same. Although quite a few Saints fans have actually said this to us, haven't they, Lee? It's certainly been
Saturday. That was topic of the topic of today, wasn't it? On Saturday.
Yeah, there's certainly, even at Whitehall, there was a few City fans that sort of mentioned, "Oh, do we think that's possible?" Personally, I don't, but it would be interesting to see, just in the sense of, I think we're actually creating more chances than we are last campaign, and we're getting more dangerous balls into the box at the minute than we did last campaign. So, but then I think we were all quite surprised to see Sean Jeffers remain at step 2 and go to Bedford. So obviously he fancies himself still. So who knows? It could be a glorious reunion, but it feels unlikely at the minute.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, Sean. Right, that's him done. Talking to people leaving, a few weeks ago, Neil Metcalf left the Heart sad, didn't he? He's a friend. Why? Because nobody can understand him. He's been on here a few times, and we will have him during this season. He will come back on here, complete with an interpreter. And we just wish him well in his future endeavours. But it's funny, he was at Heartsad for 10 years. I should think it must be the best part of those 10 years since the club actually sent the newspaper some information. It just waits for the club to pick the information up. That's not a way to do it. Build a relationship. Talk to them every week. It's the way we always used to do it. They're on your side then, and you then get your back page coverage. Don't knock the Hearts out for us not being on the back page. Knock the club for not staying in touch with the newspaper. So good luck, Neil, in your future endeavours. And another departure, Joe Campbell, head of head of media, head of content, or whatever any of that means. Headhunted by Wildstone, which is a shame because I thought he had ambition. So good luck, Joe. Hope it works out there.
We won't make any comparisons about the last person headhunted from St Albans City by Wildstone, will we? Because no,
Joe's a winner.
Yeah,
Joe's a winner.
Yeah, there you go.
We know this.
Best of luck to Joe.
So he'll be back by December then.
Yeah. Good luck to Joe, and good luck to Neil. And Neil's taking a bit of a dive into the deep end of the coverage he's going to be producing at Stevenage. So I think we posted on Twitter a few weeks ago. Apparently, there is a football club up the A1 called Stevenage. Something about a borough. I don't know what that's about. But if you do have any interest in Hertfordshire football, take a look at Neil's socials and the links that he's sharing on there, and the coverage he's providing on there, because I think it looks to be really good. And best of luck to both of them.
Do you want a silly one to finish with?
I thought we haven't done predictions yet, so those are
we do that. Well, we all predicted the right outcome last Saturday, but only one of us got close to the margin. But I won't claim the win. I'll let you two hang on there. Somebody sent me a link for a house.
Don't click on it.
No,
sorry,
no, we're not talking about this day.
We know you and your links, mate. Don't worry about that. Go on, carry on.
For a house that is up for rent in St Albans, and apparently it's connected to somebody at the football club. It's on Rightmove. You might want to go and look for it. I'll say no more. But when you've just been dumped with a 40% increase in your season ticket and you see the price charge there for the rent, what? We're on the same planet.
Predictions.
Yes, quite right.
Quickly.
Go on, Jake. Lee went first last week, I think.
Oh, God. 1-0 Saints.
Neither of you have predicted a City defeat yet this season, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. Give it time. I'm going to go. Well, I'm going to go 2-0 Saints.
This is magnificent.
Isn't it?
Well, we are.
Isn't it?
Well, we're going to save ourselves for the FA Cup. Obviously, the FA Trophy means nothing to us. So, mind you, Aveley aren't very good, aren't they? Although they should have beaten us last time. I'll go 2-0 Aveley.
Ooh.
Right.
Not on penalties either. Right, are we done then? Can we go and put the dinner on now?
Yes, I think we should. Thank you for everyone who stopped us in the street on Saturday. Thank you to all the people that email in and continue to do so. We are immensely pleased about your response to the podcasts. If you do want to get in touch, young Jacob, who has modelled his hairstyle on Mr. Metcalf, is going to give you all the information now.
I want to say a thank you to especially all the Saints fans that keep telling us they watch us while they're in the bath or in other strange places.
It's disturbing.
It is quite worrying, isn't it? And also all the Saints fans that have told us they fall asleep while watching us. So we really appreciate all of you that have been sharing that information with us. Podful of Saints.
Is she all right?
Yeah.
I thought he modelled it on the 1921 FA Cup final ball. Go on then, Jake, close it off.
Podful of Saints on Twitter. Email in the description below. Dave, have you caused enough chaos? Is that enough this week?
Yeah, let me get out of here.
All right, we'll end it on that note.
Go get your bath, mate. You're all good.
Yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll speak to you again next week. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye.